Hello, everybody. Luke Schulte, Ohio Field Agronomist for Beck's Hybrids. Just want to provide some thoughts as to plan or not, given the fact that this last weekend's rain didn't really materialize to as much as many predicted, but also the fact that the 10-day forecast looks rather chilly. So, first off, I'd say when it comes to planting in the next couple of days, if you can't plant corn and soybeans, I'd certainly prioritize planting soybeans. We know that stand reductions in soybeans aren't nearly as detrimental as they are to a corn stand. But also we know that early planting in soybeans pays extremely consistently. But what about corn? So when it comes to corn, I'm going to revert to a study that Jared and Tyler conducted in 2021. Reality is the question we really have to answer is the fact, are we more comfortable planting ahead of predicted cool temperatures, or are we more comfortable planting into a rain? Because if we choose not to plant now and we delay that planting till in all likelihood May, there's a potential we'll end up planting closer to a rain just due to the fact that we get more prevalent storms throughout the month of May with that increased heat. Or if it does get a little late, we tend to push that planter a little longer or a little closer to that rain event as we're staring at a later date on the calendars. So let's dive into what we learned in 2021 from Jared and Tyler's study of 2021. This is a planting conditions study, and the first entry they made was on April 20th. They had good planting conditions, adequate soil temperatures, about 65-degree soil temperatures, so they put in their first entry. But that evening it snowed. It got cold and it snowed. They got about 3 inches of snow. In fact, in order for Jared to take soil temperature readings the next morning, he actually had to take a shovel out there and clear off that layer of snow. And as you can see, the soil temperatures were pretty cool, about 40 degrees, little over 40 degrees on the one thermometer, a little under on the other. But it did warm up that evening or that day, And as you know, 3 inches of snow seems like a lot of moisture, but in terms of rain, it's only about a quarter inch of rain. But it warmed up, melted off the snow, dried off, as you can see from the soil surface, and the temperatures of the soil rose that afternoon, a little over 10 degrees. But that evening, we got another dusting of snow, and Jared took temperatures the next morning again. So the 22nd, the soil temperature is actually below 40 degrees, so even cooler yet. Next opportunity they got to plant was on the 27th of April. Now we have even warmer soil temperatures. So about 70-degree soil temperatures, planting conditions are good. So they put their second entry in. And then on the 28th, when the soil temperature is actually the warmest, but rain was predicted that evening, they made their last entry. So soil conditions were good and they were the warmest, but rain was predicted. They put in their last entry. So here's the scenario. On the 20th was the day of the cold snap. The 27th was the day before that predicted rain. And then the 28th was the day of that rain event. It actually rained about 3/4 of an inch of rain on the evening of the 28th and then just kind of stayed damp. And here was the stand differences, I should say. So the day ahead of that cold snap, even though we got 3 inches of snow, that really doesn't materialize to a lot of moisture. So we were able to maintain good soil conditions. You can remember it actually dried off quite a bit when he took those thermometer readings that afternoon. We had a very good stand on that entry of April 20th, even though we dealt with the snow. On the 27th, still had a very good stand, had a difference of about 1,800 less seeds the day before the rain event. But that last entry on April 28th, so the day of the rain, you can see we had an over 20% stand reduction. Here's some pictures from the end of that plot that consisted of the tougher or the less forgiving soil, the more clay content. You can see the day of the cold snap, that April 20th planting, that stand is very, very good. It's consistent, looks really good. The day before the rain event, so the April 27th planting, looks almost as good. Had pretty consistent stand. We had a good stand, just not quite as consistent, not quite as much growth, given a week difference in planting date. But then that April 28th planting date, when we planted kind of right into that rain, when we lost that soil oxygen, you can see we had an overall reduced stand and certainly didn't have the uniformity of that stand that we desired when you look in these pictures. Seed needs 3 things in order to germinate. We really commonly think about the need for adequate soil temperature and moisture. It's very easy to forget we have to maintain soil oxygen in order for that seed to trigger germination to get the uniform stand that we're really desiring. When we look at those planting conditions study, realistically, what looked to be really daunting at 3 inches of snow on the morning of April 21st on top of that corn that we had just planted ended up being the best overall yielding scenario within that study. You see about 250 bushel corn. But when we lost the soil oxygen, because on the April 28th, when we had that 3/4 inch of rain that evening, really didn't have much time for that seed to maintain that soil oxygen and just adjust to that soil environment. You can see We lost 20% of our stand, and we had about a 10 bushel yield hit. So even though all three things are required for that in order for that seed to germinate, maintaining soil oxygen is actually more critical than maintaining soil temperature when it comes to overall achieving that final stand that we desire. So what should we expect if we're going to be planting corn in the next few days? It's going to take a little while to emerge. It may take 3 weeks, maybe even a little better than 3 weeks to emerge. And then also we're in all likelihood we should be expecting to see some potentially deceivingly variable emergence. And what I mean by deceivingly is we often look at neighboring corn plants that don't emerge within a day or so of one another as a weed. But that's within the context of a typical GDU accumulation in the month of May or mid-May even, which is about 12 to 14 GDUs a day. In the near term and the short term, we're only going to be accumulating roughly about 4 to 6 or maybe even 7 heat units a day in the next 10 days or so. So neighboring plants that emerge 3-4 days apart in the context of GDUs is similar to that of just a single day in the month of May. So bottom line, if ground conditions are good, that means we have good soil oxygen for seeds to germinate and for emergence to be successful. So when it comes to planting, first of all, I'd prioritize planting soybeans, but I am comfortable planting corn. I'm comfortable planting corn for the next couple of days, up to about 2 days ahead of this predicted rain that's coming this coming weekend, so that may be through Wednesday for a lot of areas. I would recommend, though, particularly in corn, focus on those well-drained fields. This time of the year, what keeps the ground cool is water. So if we have less water on those well-drained acres, that means that our soils will warm quicker and they're going to maintain that soil temperature. Most importantly, though, for those of you that are going to choose to plant corn, which I'm comfortable with, I'd encourage you, and in fact, I'd highly encourage you, stop that planter about 2 days ahead of that predicted rain. As you can see from that data that we just concluded, when we plant into that rain and we lose that soil oxygen rather quickly, that plant just can't withstand that. We're not going to have that final stand that we desire. If we can give that seed a good first 2 days in the ground without moisture in good planting conditions, it can also withstand stress later much better as well. So I hope this information was beneficial. Thanks for tuning in.